This is John for MTG Nexus. Let's try this again, because last time out I was doing 4-color Death Shadow and decided to load the Oko Burn deck for the league, so guess we're doing Oko Burn first. So this is a deck that is kind of a meme. We played it last time on stream. It was interesting. There was a lot of like random one-ofs, like a one-of Snapcaster Mage, one of Light Up a Stage that listed previously gone 5-0, so we just kind of went with the 5-0 list. I noticed some changes that I wanted to make in the deck. Wanted to streamline the deck a bit, get a little bit more early creature interaction in the deck, kind of go from there. So to that end, the previous version had like one Snapcaster Mage, a Light Up a Stage, a couple Eidolons in the main deck, some other just like kind of random nonsense in addition to playing, Oko in your burn deck, which is already kind of nonsense. But made some changes, put a couple of Seal of Fires in here. This isn't the best like burn spell or anything, but it serves two purposes. Another 1 mana interaction spell, allows you to just kind of play it on the battlefield. I have seen M. Hayashi playing this in his or her mono red burn deck, so there is some precedent to playing this deck in successful modern decks. We're also playing a couple copies of Bone Crusher Giant. This card it's powerful, obviously very powerful in standard and modern, a little less so in in modern, but still very powerful. Strong at what it does. It can, pop a mana dork or something, come back as a 4/3 later. This deck needs a little bit of grinding power, as with Oko and Tarmogoyf. It does have a little bit more staying power than your typical burn decks tend to have in modern. The sideboard, only major changes were I put the third Eidolon in the sideboard, cut one copy of Smash to Smithereens. Card can be very hit or miss, could definitely be Destructive Revelry, but there aren't a ton of green sources in the main deck, so I don't want to be completely reliant upon green for too much. Just want the light splashes for the Oko and the Weather the Storms. Same thing with the blue. Only light splashes for Spell Pierce and for Oko itself. Oko's a surprising amount of utility. We had a really long grindy affair with a Teamer Eldrazi deck that pretty much Oko alone, along with some Tarmogoyfs, kept us in that game, which was kind of insane. Felt nice to have a burn deck that potentially go long. And then beyond that, if we happen to finish this league up, and I still have some time this morning, we're going to be jumping into a 4-color Death Shadow League, which was my original intention, but I clicked on the wrong button. So here we are playing some Oko Burn instead. The deck was definitely a meme, but it was definitely a blast last time out we played it. So certainly a card that everybody's trying and everything pretty much, so be interesting to see how it does this time around. I think the one concern I had with the list obviously was, you sometimes get the hands where you get like double basic mountain, and then 2 Okos. I jokingly took a picture of that and sent it out last time. It was kind of like, okay. Speaking of M. Hayashi, 14 5-0s. Of course, not too many lately. The thing with Modern's in a really weird place right now. Like, I haven't been doing particularly well with Burn of late, but other people obviously have had success with the deck. So, I don't know if it was just the particular matchups that I ran into or what, but like, you look at the modern meta, Eldrazi Tron, blue-green / Sultai, Oko decks are kind of revving it up, the Death Shadow variants, a whole lot of Oko decks, and then some Eldrazi Tron thrown in the mix pretty much. Which, those of you that are familiar with Burn know that Eldrazi Tron's a terrible matchup, and anything with Oko, and it's not a fantastic matchup either. So, keep. Hopefully our Searing Blazes will be good. Nope. Confirm, Searing Blaze is not good. Just trying to pressure our opponent here. Hopefully they don't have... I'm going to say hopefully they don't have the turn to Thought Not Seer. I guess we're going to get hit by a Chalice of the Void. Yep. Ironically, Oko pumps up our Swiss Spear. Obviously, we can get rid of the Chalice anytime we need to, potentially. Gonna get hit by a Thought Not Seer, right? Yep. Lose one of our copies of Searing Blaze. So my options are to turn this into a 3/3, then blaze it, lava spike them, or I could turn this into a 3/3. I think I'll just turn that into a 3/3. Just go ahead and crack this food here on end step. Ballista. Stomp was a mistake there. Should have stomped the other one, obviously, but still think we're in a reasonable position. Mistakes were made in the making of this video. Please excuse the interruptions. Okay, Ballista? Yeah, Ballista for one, sure. Just make that a 3/3. Well, it should be dead this turn, but... One, two, three, four, five, six. So I don't want to play this Bone Crusher out on the off chance they're playing to all his dust here. Alright, and they scoop. So I'll draw the Tron. Probably want the roasts. Probably want the 2 copies of Smash. Beyond that, Skullcrack is questionable. What all are they running at this point? So, not a ton of life gain in their particular list. Depends on obviously if they're playing the Great Creator or not. Probably what? Shade the 2 copies of Seal of Fire, and maybe a Bauble and a Blaze. And highly unscientific with a highly unscientific deck this morning. I think that game alone showed like the absurd power of Oko, just like almost completely neutralizing the ability of Eldrazi trying to fight back against Burn. Alright, Goblin Guide, obviously a little bit better here than Swift Spear. We're gonna have a Temple next turn, which is admittedly annoying. Alright, so it looks like they're going for Chalice, sure. Let's go ahead and smash this. Actually, I don't think it particularly matters if I do that right now, so obviously I'm gonna get Thought Knotted next turn. Response, we're going to have to smash this because otherwise our entire hand becomes useless. They probably have to take either the Swift Spear or the... Interesting. Trigger. There's Ugin. So another Thought-Knots here would be unfortunate, and it's exactly what they have. Just hold that Spire Bluff Canal in our hand for now. Yep, Smasher's a little unfortunate. Well, no respect. Alright. So we're dead regardless, right? I guess we force them to make sure they play out the line correctly. Yep. And dead to Exaxes. Alright. Stern Blaze would have been the next turn. So does that change how we sideboard? I think there was definitely some sequencing errors there. Obviously this hand's very land heavy for even a burn deck, but I think Double Goblin Guide and Tarmogoyf's enough of a reason to keep this hand. Um, hmm. That's the debate. Do I get both of these Goblin Guys in play, or do I drop the Tarmogoyf? So I think I'm supposed to fetch basic mountain here, because they moved away from a lot of the land destruction nonsense. Oh, Reality Smasher, sure. Wastes into Expedition Map, alright. So I'm just supposed to Goblin Guide, attack, play out the Goyf. Obviously Goyf isn't the best on this battlefield, but then next turn we get to double spell. Oh my. Sure. It's like, am I about to get... Okay, so... I think they were supposed to crack that on upkeep. Yeah, I think you were supposed to crack that on upkeep, friend. So now this is actually a tricky question. Do I crack Fiery Islet to try to find any type of spell that's not Oko, or do I just run out Oko and kinda... Okay, opponent concedes anyway, so it's curious what we would have drawn. So it looks like Oko was the correct play there. So definitely feels like Oko won us that first game in that matchup, so hope everyone is enjoying the memes, even if the memes might actually be good. But Goyf has certainly proven interesting. Oko has shown to be pretty good in spots where you can cast it. Bone Crushers, obviously this is the new addition of this particular list as opposed to the list that 5-0 that we played last time. And the sideboard feels a little bit more cleaned up than it was. Alright, we're on the plate, which is nice. So this hand's definitely a keeper. The only issue is we have no green mana, so play the Swift Spear. Extra Prowess trigger out of this. So some type of green deck, so sequencing that, or some type of potentially black deck, so we're up against Death Shadow, cool. So they're probably taking Bone Crusher here. I don't see them leaving us with Rift Bolt, or I see them leaving us with Rift Bolt, not Bone Crusher, so it looks like we're up against 4-color Death Shadow. So my sequencing on the Bauble appeared to be correct. So I could shock this in or play the islets. I'm not sure what the correct sequencing on that is as far as taking damage from our lands. I think I'm just going to play the steam vents because we're just going to don't have evidence one way or the other if they are Death Shadow or if they're just a rock deck that's had an unfortunate mana start, but it definitely feels like they're Death Shadow. Hey Antis, thanks for the follow. Hope things are well for you. Another islet, huh? So we're going to give them an absurdly large Death Shadow here, which is unfortunate, but it's possible I'm supposed to crack there just to try to get 1 mana play, but okay, so Overgrown Tomb, so no blue source yet. Wow, really? Just a really bad Jund draw? Let's put out the islet to cycle. Yeah, it looks like it was just Jund with a really bad draw. There's a Scavenger Muse, which is not particularly relevant, so they're just dead. So against Jund, Spell Pierce is tempting, but obviously they have so many discard spells that the effects of that are kind of debatable. Eidolon's tempting, but I think it's more tempting on the play than on the draw. Searing Blood, obviously you can potentially catch a Ooze before it pumps or a Bloodbraid Elf, but oftentimes it's just kind of a dead card. The rest of the sideboard, like I could conceivably bring in these Spell Pierces. The rest of the things, like Seal of Fire isn't great, Searing Blaze isn't great, Roast is really the only thing we have to bring in these matchups. I think it's just like Seal of Fire grows Argoyfs, but it also grows their Tarmogoyfs. So I think I'm just supposed to take out the least effectual spell. Actually, no. I think I'm supposed to take out Blaze because Blaze, they have the best ability to invalidate with like a Liliana draw, whereas Seal of Fire can at least sit and play. It's lower impact, but generally against Jund, I just want to empty my hand and try to top deck. Now that we've established we're not actually up against Death Shadow. This hand literally could be anything. We still haven't shown them green mana, which is entertaining. They're mulliganing to 5. I wonder if they have any idea what they're legitimately up against. So we're definitely getting discard spelled here. Probably losing Goblin Guide, right? Took Rift Bolt. That's interesting. So is there any reason to run out the Bobble right now? I guess it potentially grows the Goyf Assassin's Trophy, sure. I really want to draw a... So they have to have a kill spell for this, right? Hand them an Inquisition, which is unfortunate. Yeah, I screwed up. I should have run out the Swift Spear here. At least we would have gotten through for one more damage. Man, I'm making all kinds of little punts this morning. Post-combat. Swift Spear of Shame. Interesting to see if they take the Tarmogoyf or if they take the... Oh. Alright. So they're going to leave us with a Swift Spear. Wait, they have Trophy, Push... Okay, sure. Leaving this Blaze and leaving this Islet in our hand just to be able to... We know the Tarmogoyf is capable of being answered, so I think we just fire off the bolt here. I think they take the Blaze, right? Take the Goyf. Alright, sure. Now we're in that kind of awkward spot where, like... want to play our land out, but at the same time we don't want to play our land out. I know they have an Assassin's Trophy in hand. Okay, sure. So they get to go to 8 here. We draw a Goblin Guide. They have an Abrupt Decay, which is whatever, but they continue to be landlocked, obviously. Alright, they get a land, get to Abrupt Decay this. Why would you hold on to Abrupt Decay? Like, they are not using their mana efficiently whatsoever. No reason to run that out right now. We have a second one in our deck in case they have a Liliana here. Sure, get to take a roast. Just play this out since we have fetch land in play to trigger Blaze. obviously could have something like Weather the Storm in hand, so no reason to act first with Bolt. It's an interesting one. Bolt Chew. Guess they could still potentially have Life Goes On, but at least this empties our hand, right? Again, our opponent's play is kind of scripted. I guess they're going on the Raging Ravine plan, which is fine-ish. Oh, Bloodbraid Elf. That's... Alright, so we really need to find a burn spell this turn. Seal of Fire, just enough. Alright. So, some way, somehow, Oko Burn keeps winning. Now, I will admit that, like, our matchups, since we've been playing Oko Burn, have been a little bit more forgiving than our matchups while we were playing regular Burn last couple times around. But it's been interesting nonetheless. So, like, Eldrazi-Tron, kind of a rough matchup for regular Burn, but obviously our draws were pretty good. That turn 3 Oko on the play when your Eldrazi opponent just has nothing in play is kind of nice. It's kind of stupid how many cards this card invalidates. Like, so many cards that are just good against Burn are so terrible when this card's around. Like, Chalices kind of get made into jokes and so many other things. Being on the play in these matchups helps a lot. Not gonna lie there. What's up, War Dog? How you doing? Inquisition. Seems to be a lot of inquisitive mother duckers this morning. Oh, so now we probably are against Death Shadow. Okay. Probably trying to figure out what's going on. Why is Burn playing Spiral of Canal? Oh dear. Oh dear. I thought they'd already targeted us with... It's a lot of game actions. Ooh. Why would you cast Thoughtseize when you clearly have Inquisition in your hand? guess they're really trying to get their... Oh, they've already seen Copperline Gorge, so... Sure, have another Street Wraith, friend. So, okay, let's do some math here. If I dome them, Rift Bolt, they're at 6, I have to fetch down to 3. Let's do the mana efficiency thing. Because either way, they're going to be able to take a spell with Inquisition here, so... let's force them to have that plus Stubborn Denial, I guess. Ooh. Okay. Don't think you can afford to be this liberal with your life total against Burn. Oh dear. Sure? I mean, yeah, but you know you're dead, so... So it looks like they're just Grixis. Alright, they didn't even have the Stubborn Denial. So, good old Yeth's Shadow. How do we attack Yeth's Shadow? So cards I definitely want to get out of my deck are these 4 copies of Searing Blaze. Beyond that, everything else is kind of give or take. Roast can be fine, especially against specifically Angler, which is their preferred method of attack against us. Could bring in Pierces, could bring in Eidolons. Which one of those two makes more sense? Once again, they're on the discard plan. We don't have a ton of blue mana in our deck. They do have a ton of removal spells, and their creatures do invalidate ours. I think we actually bring in Pierces on the draw, which seems counterintuitive. But, like, Eidolon on the draw is bad anyway in a lot of matchups. And their Anglers and Death Shadows invalidate that so quickly. So I think it's just the Pierces. Like, I can't think of anything else that I want here, so I can just do it like that. I mean, yeah, I guess. I hope our 1,000 creature plan gets there. Which one of my creatures would you like? Okay, take one of the Goblin Guides. Fortunately, they're gonna have full knowledge of what we're working with, so... Like, as far as information, they have as much information as they could possibly want. So now we have two lines of play. We could play out Tarmogoyf, hope they don't have an answer. We could Swiftspear, cast, or suspend Riftbolt. And this is where one of the situations where obviously Goyf gets a little bit awkward. Like, it's our heaviest hitter in the matchup, but it also can be invalidated by their big threats as well as any removal most of the removal spells they're packing. I think I'm just supposed to Goblin Guide, see if I can bait out a removal spell, and then... Okay, so they'll have a Grimag Angler coming up, which is mildly annoying, which means our Goyf gets a lot worse, obviously. I still think we run out Goyf, though. Yep, so they can... Okay. Sure. In the Grimag Angler. Drawing Oko here would be, like, wonderful. Okay, or that. That one's pretty good, too. Taking a lot of damage from our mana base this game. See if that comes back to bite us at all. Okay, they have a Fatal Push coming up next turn. Puts them to 6. What's their hand be like? Death Shadow, Stubborn Denial. They're going to 4. Okay. So, am I supposed to suspect Drown in the Loch plus something here? So I could play around Soft Stub by casting Riftbolt first. What does that play represent to me? So, playing Riftbolt first plays around Soft Stub, but makes one of our creatures do 1 less damage. If I were to just suspend Riftbolt, play out Swiftspear, they give me the ability to crack one of the islets. I think I'm just supposed to leverage my mana that way. Actually, I could get got by Kolaghan's Command here, huh? I guess regardless of how I do it, they can Kolaghan's Command something. This feels like a Kolaghan's Command, doesn't it? Brutal. And then they just get to push something here. was supposed to crack one of these before combat. So what are the odds I draw a 1 mana spell versus something I can't cast? I'll just take my chances here. They're only at 3, they have no pressure on the battlefield, so I have at least a couple turns to set things up here. Sure, Snapcaster Clogun's command. That's kind of annoying. Opponent took some big brain lines. In the end, it really doesn't matter because bolts just equalize everything. Alright, with that, I'll be back in 1 second. Alright, we're back. Sorry about that. So one thing this kind of exercise has shown me is that the idea of playing a 3-mana walker in Burn isn't totally absurd. Like, even if Oko eventually gets banned, which I think everybody thinks it will at some point, even in Modern, card's just absurdly powerful. Like, something like Chandra Flame Acolyte in certain spots can be reasonable. And I don't think dismissing Tarmogoyf as a 2-drop in Burn is at all bad. I think people have just been so locked in on playing Boros as the most efficient burn spell build, which it certainly is, that they haven't really tried experimenting with stuff, and people did this. Like somebody, I forget exactly who did this list, but a couple people have taken credit for it. I'm not going to sit here and take credit for uh, this archetype, but like people just saying it's a meme, you know, it's bad, it's this, that, it's the other thing. It's like, did you really take the time to tune the list? Like, did you take what was good about the list and like really try to tune it? Um, so, I mean, it's Burnhand. Hit a third land, worked great. Don't really want to crack that land. The opponent's disappointed that I didn't play a creature that could kill. Of course, they could be some style of Dark Confidant, huh? So another Jund deck. Land. Sure. Unfortunate. Landing an Oko on that board would probably be pretty insane. Okay. Just going to go ahead and smash your face. Bobble. Okay. And no reason to upkeep this. Well, maybe. See if they crack the fetch at the end of turn here. And we'll still upkeep it then. Draw a land here. Why wouldn't you play the said land? Okay. So efficiency wise, I could skull crack them here. But I guess if they had a scavenging ooze, they'd already played it out, so. The question is, do I even play Oko out here? Like, they're clearly sitting on, like, a ton of, I think I'm just supposed to play Bone Crusher, make them take the damage to kill it. I guess they could just Lily on it. Alright, so maybe no kill spells? I'm confused as to what's going on here. Okay, confirmed. You're sitting on a bunch of kill spells. So unless you're packing main deck Weather the Storm, you're just dead here. Alright. So, bring in the roasts. Bring in the roasts, go down the seals. Unscan, Spell Pierce could be a consideration. don't think we really have a ton for the matchup. It's a burn hand. By that I mean it's perfectly reasonable but could easily get picked apart by Jund. Alright, I mean if they have the push or the bolt, they have the push or the bolt. And getting swamped for a fatal push. Okay, so you don't have a fatal push, you just have collective brutality then. Feels like a brutality to me. Brutality pitching 2 cards, sure. So you probably get to take... Okay, so they didn't escalate it to gain life. Interesting. Alright, so do this. Get a blue source. Play out Goblin Guide. Colgon's command's rather unfortunate. Because that means if they have another land in hand, they get to leverage that to the fullest of its abilities. I think you just do that main phase, right? Do you have an answer to a Tarmogoyf? Looks like you have a Liliana. Yep. Each player discards a card. Wow. Alright. Sure? Only in Moto can you do misclicks that lead to issues? I guess theoretically you could also do that on Arena by choosing the wrong card or the wrong part of the card. Been there, done that. Usually involves Murderous Rider. Usually the card that I'm most susceptible to do that with. So we're on the draw. 1 lander. I think it's a Snapkeep. Like outside of the 2 Goyfs, there's nothing I can't cast with a 1 land. I am keeping. We hit a 2nd land. This hand's like completely unlocked. Opponent's getting to 5. So some type of Tron or Dredge deck. Usually what massive mulliganing indicates, just on the surface of things, without there just being bad hands all around. Alright, so nope, humans. Gotcha. So humans happens to be our end boss for today. So I have like 3 different options. Hold up Blaze in case they have like Noble Hierarch. But I think I'm just supposed to run Aqualife here. Activate. Nope, just Champion. Alright. Champion's a little less damning here. Alright, so it's possible they could deploy. Yep, no blocks. Meddling Mage naming what? Bolt, I suppose? Sure. Hopefully we draw a land to punish them. Nope, just a Rift Bolt. So I don't think they have another, whatchamacallit here, Phantasmal Image or Meddling Mage. I think if they did, they would have named, they would have gone ahead and copied it before combat. I think we're going to get Reflector Maged, be my guess. Feels like either Reflector Mage or Manus Rider. Alright, sure. Oh dear. Oh dear. Question is, what do you copy? Okay, that's a lot of damage. 6, 10. I think the correct attack is just to attack with everything. Put us to 1, can't cast, use the Islet. So 4, 4. If they only block 1, we'd be dead with an all-out attack. I could play the longer game and bolt both of these guys. I'm going to 4 regardless of what I play this turn. So if they don't block or they only block with 1, we could be in some trouble. So I think I'm just supposed to serve with Swift Spear and plan on double bolting this turn. Hope they don't draw a Reflector Mage or another Manus Rider. Alright, I mean, definitely supposed to bolt one of these this turn, right? So they get 2 looks at a kill here. Actually, I'm just supposed to kill this right now because if they have, no, they couldn't have played in Phantasmal Image at instant speed here, so I'm just supposed to have waited there. Now, if they find Reflector Mage, I'm just dead. It's possible I was supposed to hold that land. Yeah, for a mull to 5, they're really making this hard on us. I don't really have a ton in the sideboard for the matchup either. Certainly an intense matchup here. you got over there, friend? Okay, sure. Probably name... What do you name here? Serving Blaze? Crash through. Sure. Does the presence of a second Tarmogoyf keep them from attacking? I don't know. So we know one of their 2 cards in hand is either a land or 1 or a 2-drop. Because they didn't play a 3-drop last turn. I'm definitely guessing they would have. Or an Ether Vial, which is completely, totally useless in this situation. What is your next card, friend? It is a Kitesail Freebooter. Stomp the yard, yo. Can I afford to go to 2 here? Still thinking their last card in hand's a land. Could be very wrong. Last card before the draw step, obviously. Like, I appreciate our opponent's got, like, a lot of decisions to make. Ooh, they attacking? Does anybody smell a reflector mage? So, do this. Do this. Do this. Yep, here comes the reflector mage. Question is, what are you bouncing? Okay, Tarmogoyf, that makes sense, I suppose. Last card in hand's a land. So... well played, friend, well played. Took you like 15 minutes to figure out how to play that, but well played. Could potentially bring in Weather the Storm, but I don't think that's the route we're willing to fight here. Damage can't be prevented. Gonna come in handy. Let's just take out the lava spikes, right? Like, our deck gets clunkier, but that's the only thing that doesn't interact with creatures at all in Skullcrack. So is there a way we could have gotten out of that with winning there? It's possible that some of those burn spells, if they would have been pointed at my opponent's face rather than trying to control the board, might have been able to kill them, but yeah, hand's fine. Not great, but fine. We use the Rift Bolt here. Once again, light on lands or their other lands in Ancient Ziggurat. I think we just bring Stomp to the yard. What you got here, friend? And they can develop quite a board this turn. Sure. Say, were they considering kite sailing us there? Could hold up all these spells, but once again, they really don't want to Reflector Mage that, so... And they played nothing at the end of turn, so... Guessing their hand's a bunch of 3-drops. Oh, you're about to learn a very bad lesson, friend. Good lord. Just say go. Nothing going on here. Pay no attention to the idiot in the corner. This gets punished by Thalia's Lieutenant, but there's nothing else in their deck, I think, that punishes us here, so... Third Reflector Mage. Seems about right for the day, huh? 4 here. Guess we need to land here. Do this. Do this. Opponent once again gets 2 draws at killing us here. These guys would trade in combat. Or they could just bring in Dismember against the burn deck and kill us. Alright. Swing 7. Be quite enough. So I could be wrong, but I think Velkus is actually... some reason that's ringing in my head that Velkus is Sam Black. like I said, I definitely could be wrong on that, but I think Velkus is actually Sam Black. Not that that changes the fact that our opponent played that exceptionally well and deserved that win. So it was an intense match. A lot of fun there. Unfortunately, we didn't get the 5-0, but still felt pretty nice. The funny part is like a lot of these grindy matchups, we haven't gotten a chance to bring in our like best card to bear in those matchups, being Oko. As far as this list goes, this list actually feels pretty good. Still not sure about the Spell Pierces or the Weather the Storms, but like a lot of the other stuff is very similar to what I have going on in like normal Boros in terms of like the roles of the cards in the sideboard. Like Roast is normally like a Path to Exile. Searing Blood is normally Searing Blood. Weather the Storm sometimes is a core Firewalker. Spell Pierce is debatable if that's the right counterspell. Obviously, we never really brought it in. Eidolon, I'm not really sure I'm missing the card. Sacrilegious as that is to say as a burn player, I'm not really sure I'm missing the card. And Cage. Cage obviously hit or miss depending on what matchups you're hitting. But you don't want to be playing Rest in Peace or anything along those lines with your own Tarmogoyfs. So you're kind of limited to like Cage and Crypt pretty much. Maybe Relic. No, Relic's not even good enough. Like Crypt and Cage are kind of your limits. But the only time Oko showed up and really mattered was that first game against Eldrazi-tron. But like I've consistently been impressed by when Oko shows up on time. It's a card that invalidates a lot of the cards that give burn problems. It invalidates Chalices. It invalidates Thought-Knot Seers. Turns them into 3/3s you can kill. Invalidates a lot of the big dumb idiots that kill, like Death Shadows or Gerbang Anklers. And still a card that is enough of an unknown in burn archetypes to give people a surprise. Do I think this build is perfect? No. Do I think there's still some tweaking, especially on the sideboard, to be made? Absolutely. Do I think this build is a bit more realistic than people want to think? Probably. But once again, we ran into a lot of positive matchups, other than E-Tron and humans, of course. We ran into 2 green-black decks and 1 Grixis Death Shadow. 2 John decks and a Grixis Death Shadow. I think all of which are normally decent matchups for burn anyway. So, really kind of hard to say Oko's impact, although I am liking Tarmogoyf in this build. It's a meme, but is it becoming real? I don't know. You guys be the judge. But anyways, going to stop the video here for the YouTube's people. I want to thank you for tuning in with that. For here on the channel,